Hello, everyone. How are you this, what is it, Monday evening? I am here in a different location because my husband is working from home and he's being very loud on a call right now. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I need some thumbs up before I continue because I ain't wasting my breath if you can't hear me. Can you hear me? Give me a thumbs up. It's tea time. It is tea time in the Patrick-Goudreau house. Can you guys hear me okay? If not, I'll just take off the earbuds. But if you can hear me, I will leave them on so that you don't hear any excess noise. Can I have a yay? I have a yay and a yay and again and again. Thank you. Excellent. Hi, everybody. How are you? I wanted to talk about what is a big topic right now, which is being an effective advocate, really, period. And I have some thoughts on the matter, and it's, something I've been talking about for the last 25 years or so. And I think people need to hear more than ever what it looks like to be an effective advocate for compassion, for animals, for peace, for whatever it is you care about. And we can talk about that. I'd love your questions, and I'd be happy to give you my perspective. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Douglas. Hi, Isaac. Hi, everyone. Hi, Elizabeth and Gina. I am drinking right now my purple bamboo from Far Leaves. It brings me so much joy and happiness. I can't even tell you. Hola, Nikki. And I saw your post earlier, Nikki. So I put out a tweet earlier, and I will be putting it out again, that said, for every minute of outrage we are showing, actually, how did I say it? For every minute of outrage, it's a minute we could have used to be effective. So I really, and Nikki wrote back, thank you so much, because I'm feeling like I'm just becoming angry all the time. And that's exactly what we want to avoid and prevent. And so I want to talk about what it looks like to, in this climate, remain effective, remain joyful, remain powerful. So this is your time to ask me questions. I will certainly give you my perspective. One of the things I want to say, hi Kevin, hi Anne. One of the things I want to say is it's never stopped being a time to be effective and powerful and joyful. We just forgot that we had to stay vigilant in order to make sure that we don't lose that power and that joy. And so if we can remember that this reaction we're all having right now doesn't end when we come out of it. So this needs to be a continuation in the beginning, or a continuation, but probably the beginning for a lot of people, of what needs to continue always. And I would say we're probably in a little bit more of an emergency mode than ever before in terms of people being active and feeling empowered, or lack thereof. But this, just remember, this is not the end. This is perhaps the beginning of a political engagement that you've never had before, and welcome to democracy. So that's one thing that we need to keep in mind. Number two, there is an absolute need and reason for our voices to be loud and cohesive. And I think that's so important. I cannot stress that enough. Is one of the things that I will say progressives as a whole lack is a cohesiveness of messaging, because we care about so many different issues. And I will even present a microcosm of that perspective and say animal advocates and activists lack cohesiveness. And when we lack cohesiveness, we're afraid, our message is not clear, we're not speaking to the values that we care about, and a few people hear, but not in the way that we need people to hear. And so I realize that there's a lot of different perspectives out there on what kind of advocacy to participate in and what kind of activism. And I've said for years, and I stand by it, that no one is wrong. And that's the point, is that if we can all agree that there's no one wrong way to go about this, because there are so many issues, unfortunately, and ways to go about getting our message heard, then we could at least agree that our end goal is the same. On that note, I will say, I think we need to agree on what our end goal is. And I don't think everybody's agreed on that. But I think we could at least agree that the end goal, in terms of animal activism at least, is to create a world to create a world where animals are regarded, their rights are regarded, their families are regarded, their bodies are regarded with respect such that they are not exploited and harmed. I think that's probably it in general, because if that's the goal, then of course we have to come at it from a lot of different perspectives. But we could at least say, inching toward that goal, it's not going to happen with one method. It's just not. And you can pretend it will, but it's not going to happen with one method. It's got to be about changing hearts and minds. It's got to be political. It's got to be, like I said, legislative. It has to be changing laws for animals, etc. So if we could at least keep in mind what it is that we're trying to achieve, and I think what we're trying to achieve is a world in which animals aren't harmed, exploited, used for entertainment, for food, and for research, let's just say that, then we all have to at least agree that that we're all striving toward that end. So I would like to see cohesiveness, and I would really encourage everyone who is politically engaged for animal reasons, or just in terms of progressive ideals and values, to try not to get distracted. Try not to get distracted by just the moving targets that are out there. There are so many things to pay attention to right now, certainly in terms of the way that information is conveyed these days through so many different mediums, but also because we're tempted to get distracted by what seems like the right bandwagon to jump on and a progressive cause, because it's sexy, because it's easy, because everybody else is jumping on it. And I think what that does is distract us. So perhaps one of the questions we can ask ourselves as advocates is this thing that I'm about to do or join or say is it a distraction from what my goal is? And if so, perhaps not react. And that's one of the reasons I've been talking about acting and not reacting. So your questions, please. Nikki said, I was just listening to the Swing Left call recorded last night. It's helping. Good, Nikki, because I think, again, I will speak in generalities, that one of the things progressives lack is strategy. And what I like about so for instance, the Political Action Committee that we're starting here in Oakland is that we have a strategy, that we know what our goals are. Our goals are very specific. We have a mission. It's driven by this mission. And that mission, of course, is driven by our values to make sure that animals are protected in our city by the laws that are made by the politicians we elect. So we're going to make sure that we elect politicians who are going to be aligned with our values, or at least aligned with our values enough that they will pass legislation that is animal friendly, not pass legislation that hurts animals, and will get those elected officials in office. How else do you get elected officials in office other than electing them? So we will be behind the force that elects them. And we've always had that power. And, a more conservative strategy has always been to, get grassroots people on the ground to make sure that those strategies are enacted, so that the people who are showing up, that the elected officials reflect the values of the constituents. So this has always been needed, and now I think we're realizing that, yep, it's needed more than ever. So I'm glad you're finding solace in that. If we don't think our voice is needed in Congress and in local politics as well, we're sorely, sadly mistaken, and this isn't going to go away. So I'm glad that's giving you some hope. I wanted to also say that, so Donna's asking, I was going to say on that note, is that your collective voice is making a difference. There are large organizations, certainly, who are responding to the fact that the USDA has removed the animal welfare records from the website. And they're mobilizing their members, and they should. And every individual who calls is having an impact. This is a very difficult time in terms of our voices getting heard in terms of this administration, who is not at all animal friendly and environmental friendly. We know that. So it's a challenge unlike any other time. And yet our voices are being heard. Members of Congress are picking up the issue. They're writing letters to the USDA urging them to get the animal welfare records back up. This is one of those bipartisan issues. I really very much believe that the mobilization of all of the different animal organizations, animal welfare organizations, animal protection groups, rescue groups, from horses to vivisection labs to puppy mills to circuses and zoos. And there's been some major media coverage from it. Keep writing letters, please keep writing letters to your editor. Tell them about this. Make this be a major, major pain in the butt for the government who thinks they can do this. Don't stop. I made the mistake, I think, the next day saying, hey, thanks everybody, we'll see what happens. And I didn't mean to make it sound like it's over, because it's not. It is not over. There's a kitty right here sitting next to me, and she wants the USDA to put the records back up. Don't you, Michiko? So it's not over. So you can call again every day. The number of calls that the USDA was getting the day that I asked everybody to call, I mean, not that I have, a gazillion followers, but I know everyone jumped on it and it was being forwarded. I know Alicia Silverstone retweeted my post. I mean, it went out to a lot of people that day after my post, and I'm so thrilled. It was my little 15-second video. Make your own 15-second video. Get it out there. Make this a huge, huge conversation. Don't let it go away. This administration and the kind of mentality Donald Trump has is such that he likes us to feel fragmented. He wants us to feel fragmented. He wants the apocalyptic vision that he has to be realized in all of the people he's driving crazy. And if we just get crazy and frayed and fragmented, we're losing. We and the values that we have as compassionate, peaceful people are losing. Not going to lose, we're losing. So stay focused. Focus on something like the USDA issue. Do it every single day. Call every day and write letters to your editor and contact your Congress people. Let that be the issue you're focused on right now. For the cabinet, it's going to be, every cabinet member is going to pass. And, I've talked about this before. The president does have the right to build their own cabinet. It's just the way it is. And it's very rare that a cabinet member is not approved. And of course, it's not going to happen in this climate. It's just not going to happen. So focus on right now something that is close to your heart, that you feel strongly about, and that we could have an effect on. Keep it in the public discourse. Make sure you're framing this issue of the USDA removing the animal welfare records from the website, as a bipartisan issue. All people care about animals. I don't care what you say. I'm not going to have an argument about who does and who doesn't. Compassion is not partisan. Compassion is bipartisan. And we need to make that be our messaging, so that we're speaking in terms of being really clear about what that is, what compassion is, and that everybody claims it and owns it. And my tea's getting cold. My tea's getting cold. We're losing light. I might have to put the light on. I think I didn't put the lights on. Hold on, let me put the lights on. Michiko. It's a little better. Okay, so I just want to make that clear. Do not let this issue go away. Tina said, I feel like I'm getting angry, but it does lead me to become more educated, to try and learn how to become more engaged. That's great. I've talked, all of the things I've been talking about for years as an animal advocate, as a vegan advocate, as all applies here, is anger means, it comes from the root of the root word that means anguish and sorrow. Anguish means sorrow. Anger means sorrow. So we can use that to motivate us, but we don't want to get stuck in the sorrow. So use the anger to act, but then get into the action and stand focus on that. So that's really good. Hello, Amy. Kevin said it's hard not to get distracted by PETA's methods. They have no understanding of intersectionality. They're sexist, racist, classist, fatophobic. Many vegans are spending much time trying to deal with them, it's time consuming, disappointing, and draining. Well, I wouldn't spend time, Kevin. I just wouldn't. Everyone's going to have their own methods, and you're not going to change the minds of people who have found success in a particular form. Focus on your own instead of worrying about, I'm not saying you're worrying about it and, et cetera, but, don't underestimate the power of organizations as entities. They're made up of people, being inspired and influenced by other organizations and people and activists. So what is it that you find to be most effective? Do that, right? And don't underestimate the power of effective advocacy, and that even organizations are influenced by that. So put them aside, understand that they're going for the end goal as well. You might not agree with how they're going about it, but they're doing their thing. Do your thing and get involved with organizations or people or activists who are reflecting the type of activism you want to see. But the worst thing we could do, there's a spectrum of advocacy. There always has been in every social justice movement across the board, and no one is wrong and no one is right. I understand what you're saying about people being disturbed by the way they go about it, but in a way that's it's not my business. Like I'm going about my business and doing what I feel is most effective. That's my personal opinion. Amy, I understand. I do understand, but there are ways to actually respond to that kind of mentality. I'm going to recommend everybody, please read David Frum's article today. It's in the Atlantic. It's the cover story in the Atlantic, and it's called "How to Make a Dictator" or how to Create an Autocracy, I think it's called. He is brilliant, and I don't want to hear from anybody that he was a speechwriter for George W. Bush, and thus you don't want to read his article. It is such a sad state that we get into, where we compartmentalize who we listen to based on political affiliation or past experiences or ideologies, to be really honest. Everyone got behind Matthew Scully because Matthew Scully wrote a book about animal welfare. Matthew Scully is still a Republican, and he was a speechwriter for George W. But everyone was like, oh, but he must be somehow good because he's writing this book. People are complex beings, okay? So the article that David Frum wrote is absolutely brilliant, and every progressive activist needs to read it. Every animal activist needs to read it in terms of using his, understanding what we're dealing with, and then also using some suggestions that he has. And I think it's absolutely necessary that everyone read it to really understand what we're dealing with, because there are ways to respond. And the best thing we could do is not get crazy. The best thing we could do is not be fragmented. The best thing we could do, first of all, is to stay focused, to stay calm, to take deep breaths, and to be active. And in my opinion, the most effective way to be active right now, in terms of big picture, in terms of the democracy of our country, I'm obviously speaking from the United States, our country in that sense, but also from the perspective of the things we care about in terms of protecting those who have no voice, protecting those who are the most vulnerable, protecting those who are the most disenfranchised. Those are my values, and that's where my message has always come from. If that's what you care about, we need to be involved in the political discourse. We need to frame the discourse. We need to not be fragmented. We need to not get crazy with every freaking tweet he puts out. And we need to get involved politically, locally, and we need to make sure that we elect the people who are going to reflect those values. So I can't impress that upon you enough, and do what you need to do to take care of yourself and be around like-minded people. Take deep breaths, make sure you're taking care of yourself, get away from it when you can, and stay really focused on keeping your eye on the prize. Marlene says, hi Marlene, hi. Jacqueline says, Colleen, have you read Motivational Methods for Vegan Advocacy by Casey Taft? His book and your podcast have been the most helpful for me in terms of being a strong advocate. No, I haven't, Jacqueline. Thank you for recommending that. Thank you. Another book I want to recommend, and I will do a little video on it, but I've been mentioning it, I think, a little bit here and there. If you're following me on Twitter, you've seen it. Every animal advocate should be reading George Lakoff's book, Don't Think of an Elephant. There's an elephant in the title, so perhaps you'll think it's about animal advocacy. So get it, because it has an elephant in the title. It is so absolutely brilliant and spot on in terms of framing the arguments, framing your values in a way that is effective. And I cannot tell you how effective and influential this book has been on me. So it's called Don't Think of an Elephant. Everybody go out and get this book right now. And like I said, get involved, get active, take deep breaths, and don't get crazy. Please, in my opinion, the hashtag Not My President is absolutely ridiculous, because if we deny the reality that's in front of us, we're completely then becoming frayed and fragmented from the rest of the country, which is what people in that mentality want. He wants us to look like the crazy, anti-establishment people. That's what they want. And not saying not my president is not saying I love him or I agree with him. So you don't even have to use a hashtag that says he's my president, but not my president. I just personally wouldn't use that. So that's my opinion. There's little things that we can do, I think, that will make a difference in creating the environment, the discourse that is empowering rather than demeaning to ourselves, to democracy. I really encourage you to wave the American flag. The American flag is a symbol of democracy and freedom and liberty for all. It is a flawed country with a dirty, bloody history, and it is the best we have had in terms of democracy and in terms of a political agency. Take that back. Take those symbols back. Take that language back. It is what we want. It's what we're fighting for. Everyone who's upset about what's happening right now and how it feels and afraid of animals being hurt and the environment being degraded and public schools being degraded and all the things we care about in terms of protecting the most vulnerable. That is what that flag symbolizes. That is what those symbols mean. That's what this country is about. That's what we're fighting for. And if you disown that, then why fight? Then why fight? If you are fighting for democracy, if you're fighting for liberty, if you're fighting for justice, if you're fighting for freedom, those are American values, and the flag is a symbol of that. The anthem is a symbol of that. You can be cynical and you can dissect it and you can deconstruct it and say, it's been a bloody, awful history, or you can own it, that complexity and the dirtiness and the bloodiness, and also all of the history of valor and bravery and the people who fought to give us the freedoms we have today. So own those, own this government, own the flag, own these symbols, own this country. Because if you don't, then what are you fighting for and what are you upset by? This is what it looks like. Yes, thank you, Celeste, and anybody else who wants to write that down. It's called Don't Think of an Elephant, and I don't have the whole book in front of me, but it's about framing. It's about framing your values in discourse. It is going to change the way you think. It's going to change the way you talk. And the way we talk publicly in terms of framing our values, it's going to really have an impact on your interactions with your like-minded and not so like-minded friends and family. It's going to have an impact on your advocacy. It's going to have an impact on how you move and operate in this world. And it's going to have an impact on really understanding the people who don't think like you do. I think it's so important. I have said this so many times about it's so important to understand the other side and where they're coming from. I had a screaming match with a, left fellow progressive saying to him, screaming that Republicans are not insane. All Republicans are insane, he said. They're crazy. They're just absolutely insane. No. It's too easy. It's too easy. It's a write-off. It's too easy, and it's not accurate. And when we do that, we are not only creating a false dichotomy, we're creating a false, it's just not right. I couldn't disagree more. So what I love about Don't Think of an Elephant is that it really creates this kind of understanding through George Lakoff's perspective. And once you read his perspective, you understand when you read the headlines, when you hear the discourse, when you see the legislation that they're passing, when you see signs on protests, you understand the mentality, and it's just so helpful, because then you can, if you understand where someone's coming from, you can ask the questions that engage dialogue, rather than create, what did I put out this morning? Do you want to be right, or do you want to be effective? Right? Do you want to win the argument, or do you want to find a solution? Do you want to win the argument, or do you want to find resolution? I mean, these are all the questions we have to ask ourselves. And it's just too easy to demonize somebody else who doesn't think like we do, and then turn the other way. And nothing will ever change if that's the case. And I've said that a million times about people who eat animals. I've said it, I'm saying it about, my fellow Americans who happened to vote for Trump, who are conservatives in their ideology, but it's really brilliant, because he also talks about the fact that we're on the spectrum, even in terms of ideology, that that not everybody's 100% like progressive and 100% conservative, that there's something in between. So anyway, that's just my opinion. And if you want to hear, if you want to hear me say that just for animal advocacy, it's going to be effective for you, then fine. Read it through that lens. No matter what, I think it's going to really affect and change the way you think and the way you talk for the better. And it's been so helpful for me. And I've been talking about language for a long time, and I'm just so encouraged and excited by what it's done for me as an advocate. So I hope it does the same for you. So are there any questions you have, or any other thoughts you have, or anything you want to say? Or, just again, keep in mind, just own the discourse, act, don't react, act, and definitely act. Keep up the pressure on the USDA to return the animal welfare records, support organizations you care about. Contact your city council member tomorrow. If you haven't yet, contact them and just introduce yourself, your local city council member, and just say, hi, I've never reached out to you. I want to thank you for serving my city and me, my district. And I just want to let you know that I'm an animal. I'm a voice for animals. I care about compassion, and I look forward to working with you on ways we can make sure that everyone is protected in our city. Everyone, including the animals, whatever you want to say. Let them know that you're watching. Let them know that this is an issue you care about. And then, that's the first step. That's not, you don't just write them, that's the rest. That's the first step. Then you can get involved in legislation in your city. And we can keep talking about that. One of the things that we're going to be doing as a PAC, as a political action committee, here in the East Bay, in Oakland specifically, is obviously we're going to be able to let people know who is voting for animal-friendly legislation and who's voting for animal-unfriendly, animal-harmful legislation. And that's going to help people who, live in my area. But you can go right now to the Humane Legislative Fund, and you can see just nationally who is, but find out locally what your own city council members, find out about some legislation recently that has to do with animals. You can find that out. So find out and let your council member know this is an issue you're voting on, because as we've talked about, they want to hold their seat. And so if they know that they're going to lose, supporting a local campaign does not take that much. So it's a matter of showing up at the meetings, letting your face be seen. I told you in another broadcast that now when the few of us who've been working very directly and closely with our legislators, our mayor, our city council members, we were working with the planning department at City Hall. Now when we see those people, they look at us and they go, oh, animals, let's keep working for animals. They identify us as the animal people. They know. So if they saw our face showing up somewhere, they'd know that we're going to be there because we're speaking for the animals. That's the power you have as a constituent. Do not underestimate that. Isaac says, I believe a big problem is labeling people. Once we let go of that idea, it will change us for the better. Absolutely. 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 So, and own who you are. You know, we're reacting so much. Own who you are. What are your values? What do you care about? Express those values clearly and consistently, and people will hear that, and people respond to that. I don't care what their political affiliation is. And I've said a number of times, especially when it comes to this USDA issue, compassion for animals, in my opinion, is not a partisan issue. It's a bipartisan issue, and say that loud and proud again and again, over and over, and make that appeal, make that be your frame when you are writing your letter to the editor. Write a letter to your local paper. Keep this issue in the media. Write it on your Facebook wall. Put it on your Facebook wall. You can forward my video. It has all the language there for you. Forward the video again. I know you did it last week. Forward it again. Retweet it again. Retweet it again and again. Write a letter to your local paper. Write a letter to your state. Write a letter to your representative in Congress. Keep the pressure on in this issue. It's one of those examples. And then get on the alert list for legislation. There is an alert right now in Alaska that the Fish and Wildlife Services, an Orwellian expression if I've ever heard one, is looking to basically strip away any protection for bears on wildlife refuges and other wildlife as well. So I've already called my representative today about this issue. I'm going to put something out probably tomorrow about that issue in particular as well. But, unfortunately, every day there are things we can do for animals, and unfortunately in the sense that there's a lot that needs to be done. But fortunately, we can do something about it. And I commend all of you for being open and kind and compassionate and willing, and just really encourage you to keep up the good fight. It's not going to end ever if you want to keep reflecting the world you want. And I've said that so many times in terms of advocacy and veganism, is that it's up to us to create the world we want to live in. And it is wonderful to be able to do that, waking up and making the choice to be vegan, but that's not going to be enough. We have to be engaged and make sure that the values that compel us to be vegan in the first place are the values that get reflected in the laws that get passed locally and federally, etc. And the way to do that is to engage with those legislators. Or run for office yourself if that's something you're compelled to do. But the point is, it's not enough to just be vegan. What we have to do is every day reflect our compassion in our behavior. It's one of my memes, right? Reflect our deepest values in our daily choices. That is my prayer for the world. That is my prayer for all of us. It's the way I have tried to live my life, is to reflect my deepest values in my daily choices, and make that also include in our daily activism, in our daily language. Make sure that our deepest values are reflected in that language. If you care about freedom, and you care about liberty, and you care about compassion, and you care about protection, write it out, put it out to the world, speak it, and don't let anybody rock it and shake it, even those who you don't agree with, even those who might sound dictatorial. Just keep, speaking your own truth. One of the things, I'll end with this, that I loved about David Fromm's article is he talks about the ghost of Christmas future in Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol. And there's a point, it's just so awful. Scrooge has been brought, he's seen his Christmas past, he's seen his Christmas present, and now the ghost shows him his future. And it's so awful, he can't even contemplate that would happen. Scrooge is just so darkened by how awful the future looks, how bleak it looks. And he says, is this the future of what will be, or the future of what may be? And the ghost looks at him and basically says, well, that's up to you. So it's up to each one of us to create the world and the future we all want. If not you, then who? So go out and do it. And for the animals, thank you so much for watching, and good luck. Keep me posted.